Imagine a spy. You probably picture a person in a trench coat. They might have a hidden camera or a secret radio. This is the classic image of espionage. But what if the spy was not a person at all? What if the spy was small, furry, and had 4 paws? This sounds like something from a cartoon or a James Bond parody. However, during the height of the Cold War, the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, had this exact idea. They looked at the common house cat and saw a potential secret agent. The agency believed these unassuming animals could go where human spies could not, slipping past guards and security systems without a second glance. It was a bizarre and audacious plan, born from the intense pressure to gain an advantage over the Soviet Union. The 1960s was a time of great tension. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a dangerous standoff. Both sides were desperate for information about the other. They wanted to know about military plans, secret weapons, and political strategies. This desperation led to some very creative and sometimes strange ideas for gathering intelligence. The CIA's Directorate of Science and Technology was tasked with developing new and innovative ways to spy. They thought about using animals. Pigeons could carry cameras and dolphins could be trained for underwater missions. But the cat offered a unique opportunity. Cats could wander freely through cities, parks, and even into buildings, all while seeming perfectly innocent and ordinary. They could get close to sensitive conversations without raising any suspicion. The primary target for this feline espionage program was the Soviet Union. The CIA wanted to listen in on conversations happening inside Soviet embassies or between KGB agents meeting in public. A human agent would be instantly suspicious if they tried to loiter near such a meeting. But a cat? A cat could sit on a bench, a windowsill, or under a car, and no one would think twice about it. The idea was to turn these animals into mobile listening devices. They would be living, breathing bugs, capable of capturing crucial intelligence that could give the United States a critical edge. The project was given a code name that sounded almost whimsical: Operation Acoustic Kitty. It was a serious endeavor, however, with a significant budget and a team of dedicated scientists. This concept, while strange, was rooted in a real intelligence need. Getting close to high-level Soviet officials was incredibly difficult and dangerous. Their embassies were heavily guarded, and their agents were trained to spot surveillance. Any attempt by a human operative to plant a microphone or bug carried an immense risk of capture or failure. The Acoustic Kitty project was an attempt to bypass these traditional challenges. The CIA hoped that by using an animal that was already a common sight in urban environments, they could create a nearly invisible surveillance platform. The cat would be the perfect cover, a furry Trojan horse sent to steal the enemy's most valuable secrets right from under their noses. The stage was set for one of the most unusual experiments in the history of espionage. Creating a cyborg cat spy was no simple task. The project required a delicate and complex surgical procedure. A team of veterinarians and technicians was assembled to implant electronic equipment inside a living cat. They carefully placed a tiny microphone in the cat's ear canal to capture sound. A small radio transmitter was embedded at the base of its skull, powerful enough to send the captured audio to a nearby listening post. A thin wire antenna was woven into the cat's long fur, making it virtually invisible to the naked eye. The entire system was powered by a small battery, also surgically implanted within the animal's body. This was cutting-edge miniature technology for the 1960s, a remarkable feat of engineering packed into an unwilling, furry operative. The technology was only one part of the challenge. The bigger problem was the cat itself. Cats are notoriously independent creatures. They do not follow orders like dogs do. The CIA scientists quickly discovered that you cannot simply tell a cat where to go. They needed to find a way to direct the feline agent to a specific target, such as a parked bench where 2 Soviet officials were scheduled to meet. The team spent countless hours trying to train the cats. They used food rewards and other incentives to try and guide the cat's movements over short distances. The goal was to train the cat to walk from a release point, travel a few feet to the target, and then sit still to record the conversation. It was a frustrating and often fruitless process. The scientists also had to overcome the cat's natural distractions. A spy cat could not be sidetracked by a sudden hunger pang, a passing mouse, or the urge to take a nap in a sunny spot. To solve the hunger issue, the surgeons performed another procedure on the cat. This procedure was intended to create a feeling of being full so that the cat would not wander off in search of food during a mission. This illustrates the lengths to which the agency was willing to go to control their animal agents. They were essentially trying to rewire the cat's fundamental instincts, turning a living creature into a predictable and reliable piece of equipment. The ethical implications were significant, but in the high-stakes world of Cold War espionage, the mission's success was the primary concern. After years of research, development, and training, the CIA finally had a candidate they believed was ready for a field test. The entire project had cost an estimated $20 million, a massive sum for such an experimental program. The team had selected a gray and white female cat and had performed all the necessary surgeries and training. They had tested the audio equipment repeatedly in a controlled environment, and it seemed to work perfectly. The microphone was sensitive, and the transmitter sent a clear signal. The only remaining question was whether the cat would perform as trained in a real-world scenario with all its unpredictable variables. The fate of Operation Acoustic Kitty rested on the four paws of this one technologically enhanced feline. The day finally came for the first official field test of the Acoustic Kitty. The mission was straightforward. Two men were sitting on a park bench across the street from the Soviet compound in Washington, D.C. They were pretending to have a conversation, simulating a real intelligence target. The CIA team, parked in a nearby van filled with surveillance equipment, was ready to monitor the results. Their specially trained and surgically altered cat was brought to the edge of the park. The plan was simple. The operative would release the cat, and it would calmly walk across the street, settle down near the bench, and begin transmitting the men's conversation. After years of work and millions of dollars spent, this was the moment of truth for the entire project. With everything in place, a CIA handler gently released the cat. It took a few steps from the van, heading toward the target. For a brief, hopeful moment, it seemed like the bizarre plan might actually work. The cat looked just like any other stray wandering through the park, but just as it reached the middle of the street, disaster struck. The cat was immediately hit by a passing taxi. The mission was over in a matter of seconds. The world's first cyborg cat spy was also its last. The stunned CIA team could only watch from their van, as their high-tech, expensive piece of intelligence-gathering equipment was instantly and tragically destroyed by a common urban hazard they had somehow overlooked. The catastrophic failure of the first mission was a devastating blow to the project. The team had spent so much time focused on the technological and biological challenges that they failed to account for the simple randomness of a real-world environment. A city street is filled with unpredictable dangers, and a cat, no matter how well trained, is still a small animal vulnerable to traffic. The project's creators had tried to control the cat's hunger and direct its movements, but they could not control the world around it. The incident highlighted a fundamental flaw in the entire concept: the unpredictability of using a living creature as a reliable piece of machinery. A machine does not get distracted or run into traffic, but an animal does. This single disastrous event brought the entire operation to a screeching halt. The team in the van had to quickly recover what was left of the cat to prevent the sensitive and secret technology from being discovered. The incident was a stark and immediate lesson. While the idea of a cat spy was clever in theory, it was hopelessly impractical in reality. The number of variables was simply too high. What if the cat decided to chase a bird instead? What if it was scared away by a dog? What if it simply wandered into the wrong yard? The taxi was just one of 1,000 things that could have gone wrong. The mission was a complete and total failure, and it marked the unceremonious end of the CIA's feline espionage program. In 1967, just a few years after the ill-fated field test, the CIA officially canceled Operation Acoustic Kitty. A final memo on the project concluded that while the science of creating a listening device inside a cat was sound, the practical application was not. The document noted that the program was not a practical success due to the difficulty of training the cats to behave as needed in a real-world setting. It acknowledged that the team's work in miniaturizing audio equipment was valuable for other programs, but the core concept of a cat spy was simply unworkable. The agency decided to cut its losses rather than invest more money and time into a project that seemed doomed from the start. The dream of a feline intelligence corps was officially over. For decades, the story of Acoustic Kitty remained a secret, buried deep within classified CIA files. It was not until 2001 that the documents related to the project were declassified. When the story finally became public, it was met with a mixture of amusement and disbelief. It sounded more like a plot from a spy comedy than a real-life intelligence operation. The idea of the nation's top spy agency spending millions of dollars to put a microphone in a cat struck many as absurd. The project quickly became a famous example of government waste and bizarre Cold War paranoia. It serves as a cautionary tale about how secrecy and a desire to outsmart the enemy can sometimes lead to very strange and expensive dead ends. Today, Operation Acoustic Kitty is remembered as one of the strangest chapters in CIA history. It is often cited alongside other failed or unusual projects as a symbol of Cold War excess. For animal rights advocates, it is a disturbing example of using animals as disposable tools. For historians and spy enthusiasts, it is a fascinating glimpse into the creative and sometimes desperate mindset of intelligence agencies during that era. The story highlights the immense pressure these agencies were under to innovate, even if it meant pursuing ideas that bordered on the ridiculous. It demonstrates that even the most serious organizations can come up with some truly wild ideas when faced with a formidable opponent. Ultimately, the lesson of Acoustic Kitty is about the clash between high-tech ambition and low-tech reality. The CIA could master miniature electronics and complex surgery, but they could not master the independent spirit of a common house cat. The project failed because it overlooked a simple truth. You cannot program a living being like a computer. Animals are unpredictable, and that unpredictability makes them poor candidates for missions that require absolute precision and reliability. While the technology was impressive for its time, the project was built on a flawed premise. The story of the spy cat serves as a humorous but important reminder that sometimes the simplest solution is the best one, and that not every clever idea is a good one.